Here we go. Hey, Dustin, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you, brother?
Good, good. I'm so excited to start this new series with you called Birds of a Feather. Um, and one of the things we've been talking about is we want this show to be kind of raw, where where we're laughing because we were just talking about the name of the show and everything, and Dustin and I were like, raw, what? Anyway, in my thought, raw is when you go where like you don't have anything professional going on. You're not like bands when they go raw, they're like going without all the the ampage and everything like that, just an acoustic guitar. But he had no idea what I was talking about. So, here we are.
Nope. Yeah.
So apparently raw's out the window, but just kind of chill, having fun together, just hanging out. And we wanted to give you guys a chance to just kind of be like flies on the wall, just kind of join in our conversation. And Dustin and I are going to just chat. We're going to chat about our pasts. We're going to chat about our present time. We're going to talk about books that we're reading. We're going to talk about new thoughts we have, things we want to grow in. Because as friends, we don't do this enough. And so this is going to give us an opportunity to connect and grow together, and also you guys a chance to connect with us and grow together as well. And we would love you to share your thoughts and opinions with us, give us comments, do all the normal things you do. And hopefully you join us each week. I'm going to shut up now and let Dustin kind of give an intro of whatever he wants to say.
Yeah, man. I'm very excited about this. I think that as more and more information is available to people and more of the community begins to ask questions and look for answers, the more resources they have, the better off they are. And I think if two guys who have been on quite the journey can manifest a really, really friendly, honest, objective, and open dialogue about their paths, especially since we don't see eye to eye on some things, and still be okay with that, and just have a really good open conversation. I think that helps people to feel okay with where they are and where they are going. Because I know for you and I, we felt like lepers for quite some time. I mean, it was an unsaid rule that it was not okay to ask questions up to a certain point. It was okay to a point, but not past that point. And I think a lot of people feel like that right now. And so if there's more resources for them to tap into and to understand that it is okay to ask those questions, and a lot of people have them, then I think the better off people are, because I think that there are a tremendous amount of people who feel very lost and very lonely right now, and I don't like that.
Yeah, no, I feel you, man. And this is not the first time you and I have felt like this. We felt like this
Yep.
when we journeyed out of mainstream Christianity into preterism. You feel like that leper as well. And so this is not uncommon for us. The more you seem to think outside the box and discover more, and I'll say truth with the parenthesis that there's always more to discover as you learn new things and new evidences that you need to allow into your paradigm, which is what restructures that previous truth. So what I like to call fluid dogma, is um, well, within any given amount of evidence you have at any given time, you make the best educated logical deduction you can, and you call that truth because it is the amount of truth you can have within that set of parameters. But as new information presents itself, you have to let that in, and then it breaks apart this truth, so to speak, and it forces you to redesign your new paradigm, and that becomes a new truth until something else presents itself. And that's why you and I have always been changing. I had one of my old friends critique me recently and say that I have no credentials to write this book, no credentials to talk about my journey or atheism. All I've ever done consistently is change. And I'm like, and that's a, it's like, what? I was like, how's that a criticism? I thought that like that's good. So I was a little taken back by that because I couldn't quite comprehend why that was a negative thing. So anyway, that's what this show is going to be. It's just as we journey for as long as we do this show, which we're calling Birds of a Feather, because you and I have very similar journeys, although some differences, but we are birds of a feather, and we know that there are others like us that we hope will take the soar with us, take the journey and the fly with us, so to speak. Um, and we'll continue to open our paradigms, allow new information, and continuously grow. That's how you learn, not by staying stagnant. So that's what we want this to be, a journey. And just FYI, before I forget, we are going to make each one of these shows exactly 30 minutes. Number one, we want to respect your time. Number two, it's just fun to end mid-sentence. And
Oh, it's going to be rough, man.
yeah, well, we do that. Well, just cut it off, man. And we'll come back to it the next week, though. We'll keep on talking. So that's what we're gonna do. And wherever we are at that 30-minute mark, bada bing, bada boom. Right now, we're almost at the 24 minutes left. So let's get journeying. I think this week are right now we're October 31st. We are going to talk about the release of my book today. It's the official release, Reformation Day. Yesterday we had a pre-launch party, which was super fun. Today is the 31st. So Reformation Day. I picked this day intentionally to release How to Kill God the Easy Way, because number one, it's fun to release something scary on Halloween. And I know a lot of Christians will be like, "Oh, it's a terrible book." But number two, I think it's a apropos date, Reformation Day, to start a new Reformation and help undo the brainwashing that the first Reformation did, and years before that as well. So here we are, Dustin. How to Kill God the Easy Way. Release date today. Pretty exciting. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man. It's very apropos. And man, there's just so much, Alan. I think people are going to see that title and immediately have a caricature of what the book is about and the content inside. And I really hope people will look past that and just give it a read, because you could actually replace that word God with caricature, and the title would be How to Kill a Caricature the Easy Way.
Hmm.
And I think then people would go, oh, well, yeah, that sounds like an interesting book. But because you say How to Kill God the Easy Way, it is. It's like Michael Myers coming through the door, and you're the guy. But it's um, the book is so well written, and it takes such an interesting approach, and the way that you do it. There were a few times, man, when my jaw dropped, because I'm 4 years out now from being removed from that past belief system. And even though I'm 4 years away from it, there are still vestiges of that indoctrination that I'm not aware of. And so even as I read your book, there were a couple times when I was like, wait, what? And I began to realize there's still some things that I have to undo, which is what you talked about in the very beginning when it comes to information and truth, which is a really interesting and scary prospect to understand that truth is fluid. It is not static. And so I find even things like that to be now exciting. In the past, that would have scared the crap out of me. Now I find that kind of stuff exciting, because the more information I can gather, the more I learn, the better off I am. And I think that I will remain that way until the day I die now.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome, man. I appreciate all those words and insights. Yeah, the title, I picked it because it was shocking and provocative. And, in my opinion, hypothetically, you're as a Christian, at least I can only speak for me, but I can only imagine I'm walking through a bookstore and I see that title. There's no way in hell I'm walking past that. I'm picking that up, and I'm
Yeah.
going to see at least the back of it. Like, what?
Yeah. As you scoff.
Yeah, that's a scuff, right? But I mean, curiosity kills the cat. There's no way. There's no way. I just don't. There's no way, unless you're one of these Christians that are like, think Halloween is evil, and like you can't. If you touch it, you're going to hell. Then sure, you'll walk by, but every temptation will be there to say, "I want to know what that's about." There's no way you can do that. Like you got to be curious about a title like that. So that's why I picked it, because and I know I had to go against a lot of people's advice on that, but at the end of the day, not only did I pick it for the provocative reason of it, but it's exactly what the book's about. I mean, pinpointed to detail. So when you get to the end of it, you're like, oh, okay, I can totally see why you called it that because it's exactly what it's about. So
Yeah.
so anyway, so that's that. But but just FYI, just so everybody knows, Dustin, you wrote the preface, not the yeah, the preface to the book. Josh Bowen wrote the forward, right? So you wrote the preface. Um, Originally, when you got a hold of my book, you read the book and you're like, yeah, this book is great, but nobody's going to read it if you start with this preface because I had an original preface in there. Why don't you tell them a little bit about your take on my original preface so that those who are going to get this book kind of have an insight into our journey and what the original preface was because it kind of makes it more fun to know a little bit more about this book. Tell them about that and how we came to the point of you writing it.
Yeah, man, it was I mean, in street vernacular, I'd call it a pimp slap. I mean, that original preface was just it was basically a pimp slap. And had I been early on in my deconstruction, I would have read that preface and been like, good Lord, I'm not reading this. It was a little aggressive. It was accurate information, but it was just a little aggressive. And really what I want people to be able to not feel trepidation as they walk into something like your book. I mean, the title's already enough, but if they can read the foreword, which man, Josh did such a great job with,
Yeah, you did.
and then they can read the preface and go, okay, yeah, this seems interesting. Then they walk into it with a little more of an open mind, because it's hard enough. I mean, as you know, Alan, it is hard enough to undo brainwashing and indoctrinated thinking without something kind of poisoning the well before you even go into it. So that's when I was like, hey, maybe not this. And so, yeah.
Right. So he said that, uh, and and of course, at that point, I had been writing this book for I guess a year and a half by that point, and I was tired. I'm like, I don't even know what else do I write. I don't know how to start this thing then because frankly, I'm exhausted. I can't do this again. I was like, you know what? I really need somebody who could actually bring a compassionate perspective here that I know is really good at writing. Somebody that's really awesome. Huh, who could that be? Huh, oh, Dustin, why don't you write the preface? And that's how the preface developed. So you started it out. Bro, I gotta tell you though, I have your original version that you first sent to me. Bro, it's come a long way and it's so good now. It's so good. Like it started out good, but now it's so good. Like we've made so many good. And my friend Paul Nicodemi, being an editor, also helped with that tremendously with all of it, the forward, the preface, all of my earlier chapters to soften them to make them well, I had some good editors in this book, man. I'm very, very proud of everybody that
Yeah,
wrote it.
man, I will tell you something that people won't know is okay, when you write a book, it's like a baby. I mean, you are birthing this thing into the world and you just believe in it because you have poured everything into it, right? And I know because I wrote a book and I could not believe how you took criticism so humbly, even to the point of me telling you, hey, dude, this entire chapter needs to be scrapped.
Three
And you,
chapters.
I know, man. And you kind of thought through it for a minute, and then you were like, okay. And so there's a lot there's a lot that people won't know that went on behind this book, man, with you take just complete chapters being removed and terms and definitions being shifted and thought through. I was very impressed with how willing you were to have that thing molded by other people, because I had to go through that same process when I wrote my book. And there were a couple times when I wanted to hold up the middle finger and say no way, but other people's perspectives are what matters, because that's other people are going to be reading the book. And so yeah, man, in its current form, I believe it is very powerful. I do not see how someone can read that book and come out on the other side of it without having shifted in some way, which will bring me to some of the, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about this. If we can't, just tell me no. But some of the responses you got from Christians, well, actually, the only response you got was, nuh-uh, these are straw men. Nuh-uh, these are straw men. Nuh-uh, these are straw men. And no one would tell you what the straw man was. Not a single person, even some of the people that you and I have a tremendous amount of respect for in terms of their academic and intellectual prowess, even they just said, nuh-uh, those are straw men. And I kept thinking, what's the straw man?
Right. Well, if you so so they would say, this is a straw man. That is not my view. I can see how this utterly destroys that version of Christianity's view and that version of Christianity's view. And then that version of Christianity's view also reads the book and they say, well, this is a straw man. This destroys that version. And every Christian who read it that said that literally has deflected and said, oh, you did a great job dismantling that view of Christianity. I'm like, but I'm hearing this from every view of
That's
Christianity.
right. Yes.
Where is this a straw man? I'm baffled. It's literally deflection because they just don't want right. That's what it is.
Yes.
I don't. You're right. They haven't given me any other explanation except no, you did it for them. That's just not my view. I'm like, well, what is your view? I mean, clearly there's 45,000 different denominations, so I can't seem to hit them all. But I think I hit the basics of the foundations of Christianity. I think.
Yeah, you
Right.
sure did. Yeah, man. Yeah, I was, and it's like you and I had this conversation not too long ago about expectations. I remember thinking that what I had put forth into the world was, man, people were going to read it and they were going to, be in awe and oh my God, and it was going to change the world. I had these grandiose notions, man.
Sure.
And, there's like 300 people that probably read the book, and that's it. But
Well, that's pretty good. I'd be happy if 300 read mine.
well, I mean, and so you have to let go of those expectations because half the point is it's just therapeutic to write. Man, it's so
Oh,
therapeutic to write.
bro, I can tell you firsthand, like, I needed this. I
Yes.
needed this. Like, this was, wow. So much freedom came as a result of just throwing up, right?
Yep.
And funny thing you say that because my original version was kind of angry, as you know from the preface and other chapters and other people's because we did the 40 test cases and that was exciting in itself just seeing the test cases. But the one common element I got back was, bro, if you're trying to piss people off, you're doing a great job. Like so, but it's okay because that was my therapy and I need it. So it allowed me to go back through the book with a fresh mind and fresh eyes, where I'm now thrown up and I'm better now with a breath and I reread it. I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah. So I did that myself as I reread it. And I took a lot out and I changed a lot. So this revised version, so much more powerful, so much less angry, so much less agitated. Yeah, yeah, for sure. No, I get it. Anyway, back to your
Yep.
thought. Yeah, I wanted to just
Yeah. Well,
interject.
there's that part of it. There's that therapeutic part of it. Which, man, that's a whole topic in and of itself because as you go through that deconstruction process, there is a whole grieving process that occurs because all of those existential crises that you thought you had bows tied around are now back on the table with absolutely no answers to them. And you have to rethink through all of that stuff. In addition, you're having to deal with the people who once called you family, who now have completely turned their back on you and malign you and slander you. And that's what happens inevitably. It's not an if, it is a when that happens. And it's consistent in almost every person's deconstruction process. And so there's a lot of anger and resentment and bitterness. And a lot of people get stuck in that part. They do, man. They get stuck in that part of their deconstruction process. And that's all they seem to manifest towards other people, is that bitterness and resentment. And I did that for about 6 to 9 months. I did. I made everybody mad. I was very confrontational. I was very aggressive. And I made a whole shitload of people go, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's all a mystery, Dustin. God's a mystery. God's ways are higher than our ways. And I was like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And so I made a lot of people think, but I also made a lot of enemies. And I also damaged a lot of friendships during that period. And then I remember coming out on the other side of that thinking, man, everybody is on their own journey. They really are. And if that's where they are right now, then that's where they are. I can hand over some information or say you should read this book, but whether they do or don't is up to them. And ultimately, that's their life. I'm going to live my life and surround myself with the people, places, and things that help me be happier and healthier. And it's not my job to try and change other people, places, or things, because I can't do that. I can't do that. The only thing I can change is me and my perspective. And so it was good. I actually got to watch you kind of walk through that as well and come out on the other side going, man, you're right. That was pretty angry. That was aggressive. And change the book for the better. So it's like I say, man, it's a great book. I think the approach is so systematic and so thorough. I don't see how someone, even if they tell you, oh no, I'm still a Christian, Alan, that was all straw man, and you attacked this other form of Christianity. Man, if they read that book, they are going to come out on the other side like you and I used to in the quiet of the night going, crap. I don't have answers to those questions.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. No, I agree. And I was just talking to a friend of mine, Sandra Larson, just before you and I were on the show. And and yeah, I mean, she had a journey, through, from Christianity as well. Read the book, and it helped finally free her from that trap of thinking, well, maybe there's some other, religious view out there or whatever. And anyway, and going public, it finally pushed her over that edge and just finalized her journey. And it was very, very helpful to her. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's the point, is there's always those questions that are lingering. And like you said, I hope this book actually helps the ones who are already questioning, get them through that, and which the results from the test cases proves that this book will do that 100%, because it already
Yep.
has proven that case.
Yep.
And for the diehard Christians who aren't questioning yet, I'm hoping it takes them from non-questioning to questioning, like you're talking about. And I think it will, because yeah, I mean, at some point, unless you're just the kind of person that's just reads but doesn't digest, there's no way you can walk away from this without questioning. There's just too much. There's too many problems with Christianity to not see problems with it. So, but anyway, back to the whole point you made earlier about getting rid of chapters and taking editing well, whatever. The reality though is the reason is because I saw this more of it as a community project than an Alan Bondar project. Like, sure, I was the author and I put down all the content, but at the end of the day, I needed to know that this was something that me and also all of my friends and family that were atheists now on this side of it could say, hey, this is something we support. This is something we can stand behind. Because if not, then what was the point? Like, I needed this to be a community project. And that's why I wanted you to write the preface, and I wanted Josh on board, and I wanted everybody, Jen, to be on board. I just needed you guys to see it, and JP and Mark Giachira, like all of my friends, like I needed you guys to see this thing and say, yeah, this is where we're going, because I didn't want this to be just another book. And you dealt with this so well in your preface, just not another humdrum book by a humdrum author writing the same humdrum stuff, right? Because that's been done, and it's been done well, mind you. Like, there's so many good debaters out there that are destroying Christianity's views, and they're doing a great job. So I didn't need to do the same thing again. That was pointless. This is a completely different approach. And as you said, like it takes away layer by layer by layer, one step at a time, of their addiction to Jesus, and shows how Christianity does not solve your life's problems. But But anyway, so just real quick, below this video, there's going to be a link. If you want to get the book, I'll encourage you to grab that. Go to Amazon. Today is the first day of release officially, so grab that book. It's available in all versions. But anyway, Dustin, next episode, because we only have about 5 minutes left, and I want to keep, talking about this since it's release day and, digest everything we can about the book. But next episode, I want to talk about your journey because I want our audience to know who you are. I talk a lot about who I am in my book, so we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on that specifically because they can just buy the book and read that. But your journey, you wrote God in a Box. Bro, that book is so good. I cried so many. I'm embarrassed to say I cried. You made me cry, dude. I hate you. You made me cry a lot, dude. Reading that, but it was so powerful. It made me laugh too. Like there was so many. You know how to write. You're such a good writer, dude. You took me like this. It was so good. I felt like I was watching an amazing movie. It was fantastic. So I highly recommend it too. Even though now you're an atheist and you've journeyed beyond what you've written in that book, which that's what I want to talk about in the next episode. So I want to talk about your book, and then I want to talk about your journey from there to where you are now. So that's next episode. So come back next week and listen to that because it's going to be a fun journey. I personally can't wait to hear more of your story, and I hope that the rest of the audience does too. So anyway, so back to the book. Tell me a little bit like what were some of the more impactful moments you had that you said your jaw dropped in the book, some things that you recall. I remember you saying chapter 4 was worth the price of the whole book. And so I would just be interested, so people who are listening can kind of get into kind of an insight on Dustin's mind on the book.
Um, yeah, man, it's the way you present Christian thought, which is across the board the same. So these people who say you destroyed that version of Christianity is nonsense to me because every single Christian prays, every single Christian believes in belief, every single Christian adheres to the basic tenets of the Christian construct. And that's what you deal with. You don't deal with deep, deep nuances of denominational differences. You deal with the tenets of that construct. And man, the way you approach that and show the absurdity of assuming those things was man, it even as someone who has deconstructed, I was reading it thinking, how in the hell did I believe that for so long? Because for instance, when you talk about prayer and you break that down in the way that it works, you could take a Buddhist or a Hinduist or anyone else in the world and apply that same Christian approach to life to them, and there's absolutely no difference. So, what makes the Christian one true and these other ones not? Because if experience is the litmus test, they all have that exact same experience across the board. Everyone does. So then how come this one is the only right one and the rest of these are false if experience is the great litmus test? Because absolutely no one has any objective proof, none whatsoever. It is all experiential. It is a collection of experience. Oh, well, my great aunt's uncle's third cousin removed, second wife's divorced aunt had this experience over here. And I remember, well, so has all these other people. Everyone's had these experiences. Everyone's had a rush of emotion or a rush of adrenaline or seen a prayer or a thought or a belief come to fruition. Everyone's had those same experiences. So what makes yours the right one and all the rest of them wrong? If experience is the great litmus test.
Right.
And your approach is kind of like that through all of them, through all the chapters. And bro, it really makes you just kind of step back and go, good gosh, that's really powerful. The chapter on the different apologetic approaches to to the faith I even thought that was great, man. Because they all have the same a priori premise, and And so, of course, they're going to see what they see on the other side of it. They walk into it already assuming this, and they assume something that has zero evidence. It has zero evidence, and you start to point this out, which is so uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable for everybody.
And that is the end of our show.
Oh,
That's, I mean, not a bad place to stop. Pretty good, Dustin. You did great. Thanks for wrapping it up. So I tell you what, come and join us next week. We will absolutely be excited to have you be a part of this journey with Birds of a Feather. We're going to ask you to, like at the bottom, make some comments, let us know what you thought of the show. It's our first one together. We're very excited. But by all means, click the link, go buy the book, read it for yourself so you can see all the things Dustin and I were talking about. And also get a second copy, buy it for your friend, because everybody needs to read this book. And I think that's all I got for now. Next episode, we're going to talk and jump into the life of Dustin a little bit more. Dustin, you have any things to close us out?
nope, that was good, man.
All right, see y'all next week.